In the early years of World War II, Nazi Germany seemed unstoppable. One by one, Europe's most powerful nations collapsed before the lightning speed of the German military. Poland fell in weeks. France, considered one of the strongest armies in the world, was defeated in just over a month. German troops stood victorious across most of Europe, while Adolf Hitler believed the Third Reich was destined to dominate the continent for generations. But despite these incredible victories, Germany had a hidden weakness. It was a weakness Hitler underestimated from the very beginning. Across the Atlantic Ocean stood a nation with resources, manpower, and industrial power, unlike anything the world had ever seen. That nation was the United States of America. At first, America was not directly involved in the war. Many Americans wanted to avoid another European conflict after the horrors of World War I. While Britain fought alone against Germany, the United States remained officially neutral. However, neutrality did not mean inactivity. American factories were already beginning to support Allied nations through programs that supplied weapons, ammunition, vehicles, and food. While German leaders focused on military victories, America was quietly transforming its economy into the greatest war production machine in human history. When Germany invaded the Soviet Union in June 1941, Hitler believed victory was only months away. He expected Britain to eventually negotiate peace and assumed the Soviet Union would collapse before winter arrived. In Hitler's calculations, America remained a distant problem that would never fully commit itself to the war. Then came December 1941. Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, drawing the United States into the conflict. 4 days later, Hitler made one of the most controversial decisions of his career. Even though Germany was not required to do so, Hitler declared war on America. Many German officials were stunned. Germany was already fighting Britain and the Soviet Union. Opening a war against the world's largest industrial economy seemed reckless. Yet Hitler believed America was weak, divided, and incapable of sustained military effort. He could not have been more wrong. The United States possessed enormous advantages that Germany simply could not match. America had a population of more than 130 million people. Its homeland was safe from invasion. Its factories were untouched by bombing. Its access to raw materials appeared limitless. Almost immediately, American industry exploded into action. Factories that once produced cars began manufacturing tanks. Companies that had built household appliances switched to producing aircraft engines and military equipment. Shipyards worked around the clock. Entire cities transformed into centers of war production. The numbers were staggering. Throughout the war, the United States produced more than 300,000 military aircraft. Germany, despite all its efforts, could not keep pace. American factories also produced tens of thousands of tanks, artillery pieces, trucks, and warships. The German economy was powerful, but it was not built for a long global war. Hitler had expected quick victories. America was preparing for a war of endurance. Soon, German commanders noticed a disturbing trend. Every time they destroyed Allied equipment, even more appeared. On the Eastern Front, American trucks supplied Soviet armies. In Britain, American bombers filled airfields. Across the oceans, American cargo ships carried endless quantities of fuel, food, ammunition, and weapons. Germany found itself fighting not just enemy soldiers, but an industrial giant capable of replacing losses faster than any nation in history. The Battle of the Atlantic became one of Germany's first major confrontations with American power. German U-boats initially enjoyed great success against Allied shipping. Merchant vessels were sunk in alarming numbers. For a time, it seemed possible that Germany might sever the supply lines connecting America to Europe. But American shipbuilding soon changed everything. The United States began producing Liberty ships at astonishing speed. Some were completed in just a few weeks. While German submarines sank ships, American shipyards launched new ones even faster. It became a battle Germany could not win. Every month, more ships crossed the Atlantic than the U-boats could destroy. Meanwhile, American air power was beginning to reshape the war. The United States Army Air Forces joined Britain in a massive bombing campaign against German industry. Day after day, fleets of bombers crossed Europe. Factories, oil refineries, railways, and industrial centers became targets. German fighter pilots fought fiercely to defend their homeland, but the pressure grew relentless. Perhaps the most devastating target was Germany's oil supply. Modern warfare depended on fuel. Tanks, aircraft, trucks, and ships all required enormous quantities of it. Once Allied bombers began systematically attacking oil facilities, Germany's military machine started to suffer. Aircraft remained grounded because there was no fuel. Tank crews faced shortages. Training programs were reduced. Even the most advanced weapons became useless without gasoline. By 1944, Germany's fuel crisis had reached catastrophic levels. At the same time, American technology and innovation were giving the Allies new advantages. The United States developed improved radar systems, more reliable aircraft, and increasingly sophisticated logistics networks. American engineers constantly searched for ways to increase efficiency in production. German industry produced impressive weapons, such as the Tiger tank and advanced jet aircraft. However, these systems were expensive, complicated, and difficult to manufacture. America followed a different philosophy. Instead of producing small numbers of elite weapons, it focused on producing huge quantities of reliable equipment. The result was overwhelming. Thousands of American Sherman tanks rolled off production lines. Countless trucks transported supplies. Massive fleets of aircraft filled the skies. Quantity became a weapon in itself. Then came June 6, 1944. D-Day, the largest amphibious invasion in history, began on the beaches of Normandy. American, British, and Canadian forces stormed German defenses along the French coast. The operation required years of planning and enormous resources. Only a nation with America's industrial capacity could have helped sustain such an undertaking. Thousands of ships crossed the English Channel. Thousands of aircraft supported the invasion. Millions of tons of supplies followed. German commanders fought desperately, but they faced an enemy with seemingly endless resources. As Allied armies pushed across France, Germany found itself trapped between two gigantic forces. In the east, the Soviet Union launched massive offensives that destroyed entire German army groups. In the west, American and Allied troops advanced toward Germany itself. Hitler had hoped these enemies would eventually collapse or negotiate. Instead, both grew stronger. American factories continued operating at full capacity. New divisions arrived. New aircraft appeared. New tanks rolled into battle. Germany could replace neither equipment nor manpower at the same rate. The situation became even worse as Allied bombers intensified attacks on German cities and transportation networks. Railways were destroyed. Factories were damaged. Communication lines were disrupted. The entire German war economy began to break down. Yet perhaps America's greatest strength was not simply industrial production, it was logistics. Military historians often describe logistics as the true foundation of victory. An army can possess the best soldiers and weapons in the world, but without food, fuel, ammunition, and transportation, it cannot fight. The United States mastered logistics on a scale never before seen. American forces operated thousands of miles from home, yet they remained supplied. Fuel reached tanks, ammunition reached artillery units, food reached soldiers, vehicles received spare parts. Germany struggled to match this capability. As the war continued, shortages became increasingly severe. By early 1945, the outcome was becoming inevitable. American forces crossed the Rhine River and entered Germany itself. Cities fell one after another. German armies retreated on every front. The industrial giant Hitler had dismissed as weak now stood at the heart of Germany's defeat. When Berlin finally collapsed in May 1945, the Third Reich ceased to exist. Historians still debate many of Hitler's mistakes, but one decision consistently appears near the top of the list: underestimating the United States. Germany had won brilliant victories against numerous opponents, yet America represented a challenge unlike any Germany had ever faced. Its economy was larger, its resources were greater, its industrial capacity was unmatched. Once fully mobilized, the United States transformed the war into a contest Germany could never realistically win. In the end, America's greatest weapon was not a tank, a bomber, or a battleship. It was the ability to produce all of them in overwhelming numbers. Hitler believed military genius and battlefield victories would secure Germany's future. Instead, he found himself facing an enemy whose factories, workers, engineers, and industrial power became the true nightmare of the Third Reich. And that is why America became Germany's worst nightmare.